Well, hi there. Since we're in the season, if you're watching this, the real date that I am also taping it, we're in the season of all kinds of cool spring coming around the corner and St. Patrick's Day. So I just wanted to show you this sweet little uh, good luck charm for leaf clover. And I wanted to give you an idea of an easy way to do this. Now I have my full real time with me painting along and really showing you the nitty-gritty on my Patreon site. And that's patreon.com/Cindra, my name. But let me show you the highlights of it just briefly. And I think it's real cute and fun, and it's easy for beginners, but I think those of us that have painted for quite a while enjoy it as well. So here we go. So I'm starting out with just a cold press, nothing special, 140 pounds. And I'm going to start with a 6. And if you have a 4 or anything that's got a nice point, I'm going to go ahead and start with the stem. And I'm starting with the 3 colors I'm using are lemon yellow, sap green, and alizarin crimson. I'm using 2 sizes, 6 and 8, and I'm using a pencil that has the graphite, the lead part pushed back in. So it has to be a mechanical pencil to do that. I'm using a lot of watery texture this time as well. So here we go. If you'll just angle your hand, just angle it, keep yourself hinged. There's so many things you can do with stems and blades of grass and other things. So I'm just going to do my lemon yellow, very watery, and just go right around there, somewhere around in the middle of the page. It's a 9x12 watercolor paper. And while that's just sitting there, I'm going to keep my lemon yellow, and I'm going to do my first leaf of the 4-leaf clover. And I like my leaves and petals and things like that when I'm talking about St. Patrick's Day. I really like them to be have a little heart shape. You can go, and I did a shamrock you can take a look at too, and I really accentuated the leaves then. I'm adding a little bit more water. I want it real scrubby and watery so that when I add the next layer, it'll make some nice texture for me. And here it is. If you saw how I dipped into it, here's my sap right here. I'm not scrubbing it. I'm not bringing out tons of pigment. I'm doing it in a watery manner, and I'm just going in. I'm going to switch over to my 8 and be able to get in a flatter part of the side of my brush. And you want to go to a thicker brush when you want to cover a lot of distance. So there we go. Sorry about that. I wanted to show it to you from the side. I press down so that I can do some nice texture and fill in. I still have a nice point, and you're seeing it at an angle, but I wanted you to see my my brush style, because I think it really helps. You don't want to be straight up and down. You don't want little points. You want to cover a lot of ground, and that'll make a big difference if you are covering it in a flatter manner where you can get some of these textures, or whether you're covering it with a smaller brush or a large one where you're doing a lot of tipping work. So here's where I'm going to finish an entire leaf for you today. I'm not going to do all 4 because once you see one, you'll be all set, or come visit me. It's just $8. I just started it last month. I'm doing about 4 or 5 fresh tutorials that I think will really help you. This is for starting out. And so it's for those that are beginners and really want to grab onto it, or it's for those that are just a little rusty and want to go back to the basics. Or if you want to paint basics, I'm going to add 4 or 5 each month. There's already about 7 in there when this is being recorded. I'm taking my alizarin, the 3rd color, my alizarin crimson. I'm going to stay on my 8 now, and I'm using that to really define a very, very clean, pointed edge. And if I need to move my paper, I don't need to do all these little weird contortions with my wrist. I just need to have it work for me. So I'm pressing down again, just like I was talking before, pressing flat, and then I'm going to tip my paper, and I'm tipping, and I'm just kind of letting it run a little bit and make kind of an interesting feathery look as it goes up. And if I want to kind of add my 2 cents, I can. And then here's the fun part. I'm going to take my pencil and use this tip to pull that up and to make those cool, fun veins that are in the 4-leaf clovers. Not all 4-leaf clovers have the reddish tip, reddish brown, but a lot of them do, and I think that really adds to the beauty. Now, if you want, you can also go in, use any watercolor pencil. I'm using a light olive made by Karen Dash, a beautiful one, but if you're not ready for that, use what you got. And this is just an option if you want to, is that you can pull up on the veins you scratched in. You can pull up and add more detail and more fun with that. Here's the side view that you might be able to see a little clearer since I'm fairly tight with that. It's discreet, those little pencil marks, but it just adds to the texture and kind of the fun of the look. So there you go. That's the first one. And what I would do at the end, after doing the 4 leaves, and with the 4-leaf clover, I encourage you to make sure that they're uneven. They don't look like they're little stamped cookie cutters on there. Some longer, some shorter, so it looks like you're holding it slightly at an angle. And then with your beautiful stem, all you need to do is go back to your 6 or 4, whatever you're using, and get a little bit of sap green and run it up there with that same loose angle. Once you kind of hinge that wrist and elbow, I think you'll be just fine. Now, I don't do this part until the very end, but it just adds a nice little angle. And if you want, you can even put just a tiny bit on the other side of your alizarin crimson. Since it's a complementary color, if you work it a little bit, it'll start looking a little bit on the brownish and have kind of a cool angle to it. So that's the beginning of it. Here's how it's going to end. Yours will end the way you want it to end. And that's the same general idea. And I hope you enjoyed that. I want to keep these between 9 and 10 minutes. And this is really what you need for the 4-leaf clover in honor of the Irish and the luck and the fun of it. And hopefully you can see where we're going with it. And then here's what I just did with you. And now you've got the tools and you know what to do. I have a little trick with keeping the center together, with combining it. But again, if you're in the mood, come check me out on Patreon. Also, if you would be so kind, please subscribe and even hit the bell and help me kind of grow this channel, because I am new with it. I've taught for close to a decade, and I've painted in watercolor for a couple decades. So I have a lot to share, and I just want to have a kind experience of sharing things in a happy, pleasant, peaceful way. We need that in this world, right? I hope that you'll stay in touch, and I hope you enjoyed this today. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.